Good evening, everyone. It is 7 p.m. here on Tuesday, December 2nd at the Planning and Zoning Special Meeting here in Town Hall, room 206. Tonight we have a general meeting, and we're going to get started right off with the first thing. This is the Coastal Site Plan, number 384, Flood Damage Prevention Application, number 391, A as in Apple. Land Filling and Regrading Application number 581/Site Plan, also known as PL 24-169, Town of Darien, Pear Tree Point Beach at 139 Pear Tree Point Road in the R1 zone. This is a request for an amendment clarification regarding dredging, adopted resolution dated February 4th, 2025, Condition C. Gentlemen, what do we got?
Yeah, you'll recall that the Commission on February of this year, February 4th, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Commission issued an approval for, in connection with the Coastal Flood Mitigation Project at Pear Tree Point Beach in association with Coastal Site Plan Review number 384, Flood Damage Prevention Application 391A, and landfilling regrading application number 581. To remind the Commission, as part of your adopted resolution, stipulation C stated the following: any excess storage stockpiles shall be removed and stored, disposed off-site. No stockpiling or drying of dredged material is being approved by the Commission herein. So this is, of course, in connection with the portion of the project related to the dredging of the harbor. The applicant, subsequent to the approval, prepared specifications related to the dredging work, stipulating that dewatering and removal of the dredged material was to be removed via barge. And the selected contractor, Yield Industries, developed specifications for removing that dredged material via the barge. However, it has come to light that removing the dredged material by barge has a number of limitations and difficulties with the project, including the potential for delays and the inability to complete the dredging work by the permitted winter dredge period deadline, which is January 31st, and also the necessity to relocate docks, moorings, and fishing vessels. So the applicant, the Parks and Recreation Department is here before us this evening to request that instead of removing the dredged material via barge, that they be allowed to stockpile the material within the parking lot of the beach and have the material trucked off-site. There would be approximately 6 to 8 trucks that would be used to remove the material, averaging approximately 2 trips per day for approximately 1 month. However, we do note that those same trucks will be used or utilized to bring gravel into the site for another aspect of the flood mitigation project, which includes raising the elevation of the parking lot and redesign of the parking associated with the beach. There is a current EPC, Environmental Protection Commission permit that is in effect for the property, which spans approximately 5 years. However, as I said, the Parks and Recreation Department is requesting the ability to place that dredge on the parking lot and remove it by truck.
And we also got a memo, right?
Correct.
Yeah, you have a memo in your packet from Weston and Sampson, 2-page memo, as well as backup material from Yield Industries, and I believe a cover letter from Parks and Rec dated November 25th.
Okay.
Jen Fava from the Director of Parks and Recreation is here this evening, along with the contractor from Yield Industries to provide some additional information and context should you need it.
Sure. Come on up. State your name. for the record.
Sure. Jen Fava, Director of Parks and Recreation. I just want to make a
Yeah, just
clarification.
anything that I was going to ask you, anything you'd like to add to what they said? You know, we got the memo and the thing, it seems pretty straightforward, but,
Yep.
you know, clarify, add,
Just the one
elaborate,
clarification
whatever.
I would like to make is the material would not be stockpiled, like just freestanding on the surface of the parking lot. It would be placed into repositories and taken out. So should there be any flooding or anything like that, it will not be going back into the water or causing any disturbance. So I think that's a key thing. It's not actually going to be sitting on the base of the parking lot.
Right, and those aren't just standard dumpsters that I get in
No,
my
I think-
driveway for renovations.
Craig Blothroyd, Yield Industries. They are modified containers that allow the only clean water to exit the container while it keeps the sediment inside.
Inside, right, that's what I
Yes.
thought, so they're not just leaking.
They do look like dumpsters,
Right.
but they have custom
Like a-
turnbuckles, different door latches, and we've successfully completed this for numerous municipalities in the same means and method.
Okay. And the trucks are already on the road anyway, so we're not adding traffic to it.
Is there
Okay.
a net increase in the number of trips, or?
The import material exceeds the export, so
Okay,
as long as we're able to do it, I mean, the key here is to hit the permit deadline, of course. So, whenever available, we are gonna back all the material, so there would not be a net increase. Not saying every truck on its return trip, if the disposal facility is gonna be closing or something like that, there may be a couple that sneak in and out, but we have a surplus of material that we actually have to receive back into the site.
thank you.
Can you clarify the location, because I was unclear. I thought at one point I heard that their parking lot would be closed, but then I see the aerial views of the proposed locations, and it doesn't look like it's gonna take up the whole parking lot. Can you talk further about the operations of the parking lot?
So the project's unique in the sense that there's multiple things going on at the same time. So what we've tried to do so far is we've tried to limit the amount of area we've taken up. We can absolutely accomplish this scope with the parking lot still open in some capacity. However, once the additional phases start, meaning the sidewalk improvement work and then things we have to do in conjunction with the dredging work, we do have to limit the access into the parking lot.
And is that a new condition, or, no?
No.
No, so it's not like you are limiting access to the public to park there any more than the original approval?
Correct, there would be no change.
No change.
George, anything?
I guess I'm just wondering whether you have an idea, if you're bringing in gravel and taking out the dredged material, which is heavier? Would it be
We
dredged?
try to put 22 ton going in, 22 ton going out.
It's the
so,
same?
Yes.
Okay, either way, all right.
Yep.
And I've heard some sensitivity to our new Rings End Bridge, so you have any reason to be concerned about the...
There's no weight stipulations on that bridge. We verified that before we brought in the oversized equipment. This actually weighs less than some of the other equipment that came into there. So these are just standard dump trucks, nothing special.
Thanks.
Okay. That's it for me, so this is just a special, if you say general
Modifying,
meeting.
yeah.
Yeah, we're just modifying it.
Modifying it.
Take a straw poll, everybody on the commission, all in favor of this? 5-0? Modified, it's 4-0, excuse me. Modified.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, moving right along, coastal site plan review, number 227, D as in David, flood damage prevention, application number 254, E as in Echo, land filling and regrading application number 458, B as in boy, site plan application 253, C, Town of Darien, Weed Beach Park, 155 and 159, Nearwater Lane, also known as PL 23, 158, Weed Beach Meadow and Trail project in the R1 zone. This is a request for an extension of time on the Weed Beach Meadow and Trail project. Gentlemen, what do we got?
You'll recall that this application was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission on January 16th, 2024, in connection with a coastal site plan review, flood damage prevention application land filling and regrading application and site plan application for the redevelopment of a portion of Weed Beach to create walkways and an open space area. That project has been tabled for the time being by the town, and they are coming before us this evening to request an extension of time from the commission to implement the project. This project does have Environmental Protection Commission approval with an active permit for, I believe, 5 years. Is that correct?
The EPC permit ran longer. P&Z granted 2 years originally, and being that it didn't get funded in this year's budget, clearly it won't be moving along within the next few months. So Jen Favo's here if you have any questions, but it seems like a pretty routine extension request. And the question, mostly the big question is, how long does the commission wish to grant in terms of an extension?
Well, does anybody have any reason to say we don't just give them 3 years? This way it lines up with EPC?
Yeah, I was just about to
I
say,
was thinking 2, but 3 works, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
Yep, 3.
I would implore the town to lean on the Board of Finance to get this project done. I am constantly hearing from my constituents about why it is not done. So let's try and get this one done. All right, all those in favor of 3 years? 4-0. You got yourself 3 more years.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
You too.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Okay, we are moving along. Now Neil is up for the 2026 Plan of Conservation and Development, POCD. This is a discussion of the 2026 POCD update with our consultant here from H&H. We, in the packets, got a couple of things here, if I can bring them up and find them. There it is. So we've got a outline of the chapters that's redone, and we've also gotten the first look at chapters 1 and 2, which is mostly kind of what I would call background, general type of information, just about the town type of stuff. So I will let our esteemed colleague take it away.
Thank you. Is there any more I need to do? Just wait for this to turn on?
You're plugged into the HDMI cable?
And then Neil, if you could just do the usual state your name for the record.
I'll get started as this loads up. My name is Neil Desai. I'm principal planner at H&H. Nice to see you all again. Getting close to the new year, and it's exciting that I've started getting pen to paper, or well, whatever it's called, printer, ink, or whatever to paper with the POCD, and that's really exciting. So as I might have mentioned, typically how we've done this is we have two meetings. This is not here, but in other places, I've had 2 meetings. One, we have the entire draft of the plan, go over it, and then once we've made changes and discussed it with the board or whomever we're working with, the council, we will release it to the public, and then come back and discuss the public comments, and then discuss putting how we're going to adopt public comments into the document. That's how I've typically done it. I know that here, this is the first time I'm doing it this way, where we're kind of doing a chapter by chapter approach. So bear with me. I'm getting a handle on it. So this is a challenge, and I think this is an interesting way to do it, because you're cutting things off in small pieces, which I think does make a lot of sense, rather than having a huge document that you have 3 weeks to read. And this is really good. I think this will be a nice way and a nice experience for us to kind of do it this way. My computer is not connected.
They're on the wrong input.
Yeah, that's not your desktop, is it?
That's like the TV's desktop. It's like a computer. Is there like a video 1, video 2?
I don't think there is.
I think the gentleman after me is going to need this as well,
Yeah.
so we might need to figure this out.
Yeah, I plugged into the HDMI.
No.
Oh, maybe that's the way to do it.
Something just happened.
Excellent.
Oh,
Fred to the rescue.
the old unplug and plug it back
Yeah,
in.
that's right.
Works every time.
Right.
High tech.
Exactly. If that doesn't work, just do a reboot.
Now, let's see what's
Did you
going on
unplug it? Was it a hard
here.
reboot?
Oh,
or a
that's
soft
the
reboot?
signature. Okay.
Turn the power off. It should be like that.
Okay.
All
What's
right.
going on here with my, okay, I can lose this. So I presented here a preliminary schedule for the review of this, but I realize that needs to be expanded a bit because we need to plug in the deadlines for providing a draft to the P&Z department for review. So I'm gonna plug in that, and so we'll have a little more detailed version of the schedule where all the steps are outlined very clearly for us and for yourselves. The draft chapters on the right side, well, we do have chapters 1 and 2 in manuscript format. I'm calling that now. This side, as we proceed, as the outline, as you know, will be changing kind of continually. Because as we're writing this plan, we might realize, you know what, this actually belongs in this section. I think, for example, Adam mentioned the sustainable design, or sustainability should maybe be in the natural environment section. So, I think so. This will be constantly evolving as we write along, and I'll make sure we track, very specifically for you what we'll be providing for you in the next at the next meetings. And one question I had is, there's what you see in chapter 1 and 2 are the quote unquote manuscript forms. So it's just really the text content. We don't have the tables and photos. Part of that was because of the squeezing this into before the holiday. We wanted to get something to you, but the plan was to continue this kind of manuscript format along as we move along with the document. And one thought I had was maybe we could once we complete all the manuscripts, we'll design it up into a design document that you'll see, like the 2016 POCD is a design document, not just text, has photos and tables, and review that. And I thought maybe rather than having that at the very end, maybe we that we provide a design pieces earlier rather than later, so that you can kind of see how the document's evolving, how your comments are being incorporated into the text, and then how that's being laid out with images and tables. And you could of course see the tables, because those are important as well to see, because those will be things that you might think are, oh, this is really great, or this should include X and this should include Y. So that's another thing I want to think about in the next few days as we sort this around. I think. Do you have any thoughts on any of this before we move along to the chapters? On any preferences you think, or do you think, would you rather see like kind of some sort of design document as it will look in real life sooner rather than at the very end?
I think obviously it's just chapters 1 and 2, which are predominantly intro. You see a placeholder that you can read. Insert table here. We assume that's a demographic table.
Yeah.
So I think as we unfold together, we'll if there's a pertinent question, I'm sure it'll kind of come up as we go along.
Okay.
But we kind of have to start somewhere.
Right.
I think it's more a question for staff. I know I was talking with Fred about this a little bit earlier today. This seems like a very aggressive timeline to get this thing done by May. I mean, you're basically gonna get chapters 3 through 6, which again is also kind of background, so it's not really like a lot of meat, let's say, but still, that's like the day after Christmas, and then they're gonna have 2 days tops to turn it around before we have to review it, if even that. So I think, I'm not sure. My thought was to figure out when's the deadline that we need to have it implemented, and then say, okay, from there, we definitely need a public hearing on this, and then we need, a couple weeks. That's what, does RTM need to approve it? Does the selectmen, and then work backwards and say, okay, working backwards from X date, call it October 1, October 15th, September 15th, whatever it is, sometime in the fall that we got to implement it as the new thing. Work backwards. Is the deadline 5/5, or is the deadline really if we do get it done by the end of June. We do the public comment hearing in July. That gives you guys August some time to rehash it out, to incorporate some of these comments. We take a look at it, September 1, we approve it, we send it to whoever needs to send it. So I don't know if we're just being overly aggressive, because I do want to take some time. Like, I don't think that, by January 6th, it's unreasonable to have 1 through 6 done, because it's mostly introduction. The first two, right? It's not a lot of stuff. But then the turnarounds start happening, 3 days later, there's another chapter, and then, we already get into the next one, and the next one almost every 2 weeks. It just feels very aggressive, because we also have to figure out, in the springtime, we get the rush of permits to get everything built before the end of the year, and then summer's kind of like a lull, and then we get now the rush of everything to start building it in the spring. So the early spring months are a higher workload for us in terms of just applications of people wanting to do stuff.
Right.
So I'm just trying to think about how aggressive this timeline might be.
I think that you're absolutely right. I think working kind of backwards is a good way to see how much room we can have. We can space things out a bit, because it is intense when we're adding in the quick review of Fred and Jeremy of each section before we send it to you. How much I have to give them time. I can't.
That's what I'm saying.
So, Jeremy, do you know offhand what the deadline would be for Darien to adopt?
Yes, Fred and I talked a little bit today. While the last town plan was, I think, May or June, took effect in June, there is no strict state law that says the next one has to be done by June. So you get a little bit of leeway there, especially if at that point you're 90% done. I'll also have to, as you've acknowledged, back it up from what are the state statutes relative to hearing time, public notice, and things like that.
Right.
So what Neil and I and Fred can do is sit down and say, let's assume the commission wants to adopt this second week of July or something. Backing up from there, how do we make this work such that the timing is okay? And would it then need to slip to September, acknowledging that if you want, the state requires you have a public hearing on the plan, that you wouldn't have the public hearing in August, those types of things.
Right.
So we can tweak this a little bit. I know one thing Neil and I talked a little bit about is he'll be working closely with Greg Del Rio on the transportation chapter. So we've already started reaching out to Greg a little bit. So that would give, while Neil's working on one chapter, Greg's working on the other at the same time.
And does the RTM have to approve this, or
They
no?
do not.
That's
There
what I
is
thought.
no,
It's just us.
I think it's a referral to the RTM and the selectmen, more
Right,
out
for
of courtesy,
comments, maybe.
but no formal vote.
No formal, so it's not something they need to adapt like the fines that we just did. that kind of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
So Neil and I can kind of tweak this a little bit. As he said, for us, Fred and I reviewing chapter 1 and 2 was like a 1 day.
Yeah, I'm not worried
But as
about,
you get more meat
it's
on the
more
bone,
7
it
through
becomes-
12 is what I'm really concerned about. I'm not concerned, honestly, 1 through 6, we probably could have banged out tonight, but,
Yeah.
it's that, and that's, it's basically like 3 months, and it's
Yeah.
every other week.
Yeah, basically Neil coming to you at least once a month.
Yeah.
It might be times twice a month. But we'll tweak this schedule
Okay.
as it gets. So you'll see a new version of this probably when you meet again on January 6th. You'll
Perfect.
see a new version of this.
And that gives you guys
Oh,
some
okay.
time too.
Just my 2 cents would be much what you're saying, Jeremy, tweak it along the way. I don't think I would make a wholesale change to it. I think being done by early May kind of fits what you want to accomplish. But if there's slippage, there's slippage, and it might get us, we
Yeah,
should
but-
know we have some weeks at the end to slip. But I think having some discipline with this fairly tight schedule is probably a good thing. And, nothing draconian is going to happen if we miss a week or
Right.
two, but
Correct.
we ought to try and meet it as well as we can.
Will it be formally presented at an RTM meeting?
Yeah, I think we've done it different ways through the years.
do
Sometimes
subcommittee.
we'll go and give them a presentation that highlights the best of, if you will, and say, we're here tonight to present it to you. You're welcome to submit comments or come to the hearing on whatever date it might be. Similarly, with the Board of Selectmen, some kind of courtesy presentation to say, we're here, come give us your feedback at the hearing.
I was
So-
just thinking of the amount of time the RTM is off during the summer months. I don't know exactly, but it is.
That's a good point. The RTM is off more than they're on.
All right.
That's a good point, Jamie. We'll work around that schedule. Because I think you're right. They don't meet usually in
July.
July,
July.
August, December.
Yes, July, August, and December, yeah, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So we might
It's an extra month than what, yeah.
aim for that May. Even if the whole plan isn't done, you could say, look, we're 90% done.
Here's
So that's a good point. Put them on, I'll aim to get them on the,
here's a rough draft.
yeah.
I think to Adam's point about the you know, kind of the intensity of this is also, you know, you can probably dedicate, what is it, would it be an hour at most, or is it going to dependent on what other applications you have at the next meetings in the future?
I think it depends on, you know, like, we can review chapters 1 and 2 in 15 minutes, right? But chapter transportation,
Well, right,
number
that's really
8,
the big ones.
that might be, that might be an hour, might be an hour and a half, right? Because traffic is like, obviously, the number one complaint in town that we hear, apart from our expansion of Weed Beach. So, you know, I think it just depends, that's all.
We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. So, okay, thanks.
But anyway, if you want to move along, chapter 1?
Yeah, we're moving along, and so again, this is the outline, which will be continually changing, and we'll always keep track of what the latest version of the outline is. Like I said, I think I liked Adam's suggestion to move sustainable Darien for now back into a natural environment rather than have it be a standalone section. I did put the built environment at the end for now, just because in terms of, that's, you know, a really critical core topic. I want to make sure I have enough time to
You
spend on
might
that.
consider, just to throw a wrench in, you might consider natural environment and sustainability, just because sustainability is a term of art nowadays, or an important word. We have a committee named after it, I think, and just as a buzzword, it might catch people's attention more than just
Natural environment,
natural environment.
Yeah, I think if there's more, you know, I like that suggestion, and same thing goes for any other chapter titles. I think if there's something more, whether it's more interesting or
Better verbiage.
catching, we'll certainly, you know.
The only other thing I noted in the outline, I feel like we want to put it in chapter 5, policies and regs for the state, but just talk about the new housing bill
Yes.
that just came down.
Yes.
I feel like that certainly merits some wordage in this plan, because
Yeah.
that is going to be something that in the next 10 years we'll be dealing with
Absolutely.
in terms of a bunch of different things,
Well,
parking
yeah.
things, as of right things, building thing, you know. So I think that, I'm not sure if that's policies or regs, or you want to make a new law or have its own section.
Yeah,
'Cause
those
it's
are
the first major
regulations.
housing bill we've had in I can't even remember.
Yeah,
So.
well, that's basically, Steve Albani reached out to the RTM members, give me questions for my speech, and the most common question
But how's that affect us? Yeah.
is the housing bill, how does it affect us? What does the town need to do to comply with these new state requirements? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe toss that in. I feel like it would go in chapter 5, but
Definitely. I mean, I think.
unless you think
Yeah,
somewhere
I think
else.
it definitely in chapter 5, and then it'll probably have some further discussion in the you know, where we talk about the built environment, land use, housing section.
Cool. All right, so moving on, chapter 1.
So chapters 1 and 2, you know, this is kind of just the setup. You know, this is for those who wish to read it amongst the public, but also for, you know, maybe folks in the state who are looking at grant applications, look at the POCD, that sort of thing. You know, the introduction is just, you know, we wanted to be really clear about what can be done with the POCD. So that's the thrust of, you know, the numbers 1 through 5 is first explain what the POCD is and does, and then what are some of the practical ways that the community can use the POCD. So that's chapter 1. You know, that took.
Can I
just a
make
couple
2
minutes.
comments about?
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
Things two things that popped out at me. Median value, just reference what you're referring to there. Is that the median tax assessor's value based on the tax assessor records? As a realtor, that one popped out at me because clearly that's not the median sale value. I can appreciate that it's, just make a comment as to what you're referencing that.
Oh, you're talking
to
about
be.
chapter 2.
Is that chapter 2 already?
Yeah, we're
I'm
just,
sorry.
let's
Sorry.
hold that
Jump ahead.
thought. So, we want to be very, in chapter 1, we just want to introduce what the
Yeah,
POCD
yeah,
is,
sorry
that sort
about
of
that.
thing. How can be used, everybody from the Board of Selectmen to residents if they're interested in what's in this document and how they can get involved. So, very simple, direct, any comments on this
No.
short
Oh,
chapter?
good.
Nope.
Just on the first paragraph under the introduction, I was just thinking the sentence that a POCD contains goals, policies, and recommendations for investing. Maybe investing in something else about, preserving, or it's not just
Right, it's not just investing, it would be,
maintain, I'm not thinking of the right word, but
yeah. I will think of,
Both, or you could say both, for both investing in in accordance with that vision, as well as preserving the natural, finding a
Right.
balance between that and the natural environment or something like that.
something like that, yep.
So,
You might include the word developing,
yep.
because that's part of the
That it is.
thanks. Anything else on? Wow, chapter 1 just took 3 minutes. Wow, this is a good rate.
Was that chart in the earlier?
So the next page is, I really don't like to, history is really important, it's interesting. I don't like to spend a lot of time and pages on history. And so I've done this, this kind of, something like this else in other plans where I actually just worked with the section from chapter 2 of the 2016 POCD, which was the history section, and it was really outlined nicely and created this kind of table that shows Darien's evolution from, what it was, way back when it was, native folks and stuff, all the way to where we are today. And I think, I need to put an icon in there, but this is really just meant to be a very quick, interesting, eye-catching, but also informative if people aren't, quite clear about, how Darien kind of evolved, why it doesn't have a town green and that sort of the type things, and so that's the historical kind of context, kind of like the historical just kind of bookmark for the POCD. Do you have any comments, questions, corrections?
My second observation in that section is when you're talking about public parks, you say Great Island not yet classified as a public park. That implies that it will one day. So I would remove the yet, because I don't know that it's ever going to be classified as a public park.
I do the same note.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, there we go.
I wanted to print this out, but we had a major hack at our company, so
Oh,
printers are still down.
No.
But I'm just kind of writing down your
Bitcoin
comments here.
ransom.
that's not worth anything, isn't it?
I don't know. I didn't dare ask
$1,000
that
coin.
question.
See, I told you, it's not worth anything.
But luckily, I'd saved this on my desktop to work from home, the day before it happened. So it wasn't me though.
Oh.
So I was able to kind of move this ahead. So so kind of going back to just in general, chapter 2. Obviously, this is just kind of again setting the stage. And the reason it's descriptive, I think, I really wanted to communicate the structure of Darien. What makes Darien? How did Darien evolve into how it is now? And that's because we talk about the railroad tracks, the I-95, and so now you have this little like this little map that's supposed to really the map really goes along with the text because it starts to shows the topography. It shows kind of like the major roadways, the major barriers, 95, and how everything, everything except, everything non-residential is kind of really squeezed in this little corridor through the middle of Darien. And whereas if you look at New Canaan up north, it's people often talk. I've heard people talk about New Canaan downtown being really nice because it's to be able to have the width and the length, and it's completely different structure and way it's laid out. And so I think it's important to kind of communicate something about the structure of the town, because I think that starts to get into the way changes has been happening and why it's happening the way it has been happening.
I think that's important because it is odd that we have a highway that bisects the town somewhat into
right,
two-thirds.
And there's no town green, which is something that most New England towns have, which is interesting. I mean, I don't go into that. That's just kind of my own thing.
So that was one thing. I'm just curious. You don't say anywhere in like the introduction or in Darien something like, the town of Darien is blah, 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 and was founded in 1823. Like, I grew up in Fairfield, and like, whatever it was, 1639 or whatever the year, because it was like the first town and wherever. It's all over everything, because
right.
it really
the
is
seal,
old.
Right? What is it, 1737?
Yes, wherever. Well, and the reason we don't have a town green is because we were just Stanford, and then they just cleaved us off, right? Versus setting us up as an independent town right from the very beginning. Just that, maybe add some little historical context. Because we just had the 250. Or the 200.
Coming up next year.
Yeah, next year.
That's
For
interesting.
America.
Yeah, that's
200.
We got the 200. No, Darien had the 200, what, in 19, 18?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago.
And 17.
Yep. 8 years
So-
ago, geez.
That's the place section. So, this map, I think, Jeremy, I know there's some changes and corrections to make to the map, but, and also I think it'll be a better resolution. I think, or whatever, it's kind of chalky right now, but it will make sure it's very clear. Just all the maps are clear in the plan itself. But, so the people, again, this is just setting the stage, based on
So,
what.
I
we know
had
about
one
it.
more thing, sorry, on the place.
Sure.
On page 6, on the first paragraph, the last sentence is the scale, character, pace, in addition to its content, we're talking about Corbin, are significant concerns for many residents. That's the only spot where you put that. Everything else is just stating facts, fact here, fact here, fact here, and then you're like, and this is a concern.
Yeah.
I felt like that didn't really belong there in sort of
I
background.
had to read it twice. At first, I thought it was just referring to that one development, but I think you meant it inclusive of
Of
like that, a concern for,
Because the next chapter
Right.
it'll be introduced in the next chapter.
but I think it could just be worded in, like you were saying, in some other way without.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, when I reread this after sending this to you, I saw that, and a couple of things I thought was just, well, that's not the only sentiment. I mean, there's also the positive sentiment too for the new development,
Right.
which I didn't include. I guess I was thinking in terms of foreshadowing what's to come, but there's no need to do that if this is all descriptive. So
That's what I
so
thought.
that's a good suggestion to strike that sentence, because it is very different. It's just kind of, getting out of the objective into like, all right, now this is what people think, because that's what the next,
Exactly.
next thing we'll be really getting into.
Just a nit on the people issue. Between your chart, which says the population currently is 22,000, and in their text you referred to, I think, 21,700. You might want to make those consistent. I'm not sure which is.
Yeah, I actually, I made those numbers, I actually changed, I didn't put it in the document, but I did change those numbers because I noticed that, the previous population actually isn't 22 to 20, and then, 21,
Whichever one's
683, or whatever the exact
Yeah,
thing is.
we
I
had
may just,
20,000 people in 1938.
I'll ask
Seems high.
my colleague Chris, who we haven't met and put this together, what's these numbers represent? Are they, obviously,
The average, the final, the beginning,
exactly,
yeah.
in terms of
Yeah.
that, so it's another question I want to get into for that one.
Yeah, that's
So
what I thought.
thanks for
I
that.
thought 2015 was pretty high, but.
Okay, yeah, so the people of Darien, and you are people of Darien, so I just want to make sure that, I I want to see how, how we describe it. It makes sense, the way we narrate it. I think this is when we start getting into data, I know that there's the data for Darien, and then there's comparative data for, other towns, like, Greenwich and, towns that are similar than that. And so, I think, we're in the process of thinking about whether to have this whole separate data snapshot section, but rather, instead of having a separate data snapshot section, just have a page which summarizes the key, something nice graphic that summarizes the key data for Darien, just, population, list, square miles, there's very, very basic stuff. And then in the text, when it's really important, we can put those data within wherever it belongs within the chapters. So that's just something we're thinking of. So give some basic census data. I think, Amy, you said the median household income is that that comes straight from the census?
Yeah, the household income is right. She's talking about the median.
The median.
Oh, the median value.
1728.
Just, as per,
Right.
whatever it is you're referencing.
That's again,
Higher than that, though.
American Community Survey census data.
That's the tax assessor's valuation.
It's not,
way lower than the tax. This is way higher
Yeah.
than the
No, but
assessment.
So-
even if they're appraised value, it's just, that's the whole town, where sales, what you see is just what sold that year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is not a representation of the entire
Right.
households of Darien.
So that's the census figure, and especially when you're starting to show, I don't think we need to show comparisons of housing values
No,
by
you
towns,
don't.
but
Just make a reference as to what.
where it's from, right?
Yeah,
right.
footnote it.
Define your terms, I guess, is what we need.
Mhm.
Where it
Yeah,
came from,
okay.
when, and what it is.
Yeah, that's 2020 census.
You refer to something more current.
Otherwise, I thought it was good.
Mhm.
Household composition. I think there needs to be. I think this is one of Fred's or Jeremy's suggestions, is to provide a little bit more discussion about the difference between family size and household size, just so it has a little bit more thing. And also, I think with those numbers, you kind of need to put in some comparisons, so that people get a sense of, okay, 3.42. Well, I guess average family size 3.42. Okay, but like when you start comparing with Greenwich and some of the other towns, it provides a little bit more sense of that. Darien actually does have the highest. I think I say that in the text, but I don't have any. That will be something that we could put as a chart to show some comparisons.
And I don't know if it's the place. I kind of made a note about the people, but now I'm thinking I'm not sure if it goes in the place. You don't talk about the schools. You don't say we've got 5 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school, anywhere. And then in the people, I thought, along with sort of the household formation size, where you say, okay, the average household in Darien has 4 people, 2 adults, and 2 kids. We could also say there are X number of children in the schools, in elementary school, X in the high school, X in the middle school, just to get an idea, because we're renovating, we just finished renovating 1, we're renovating 3 more, there's only 1 left, which is gonna get a new roof, and not a renovation, but we did get a power wash. And then, but the middle school is gonna be up next for renovation in the next 10 years. So I felt like at least some discussion about the children or the schools.
Or even a chart of what the increases.
Yeah.
What the school enrollment numbers just came out, the projections. They did a presentation at the Board of Ed, in fact, I think it was last Monday, 25th.
Tuesday.
Right.
So I was able to, they were nice enough to pass along the document. That's kind of the deal, is we give them the data, they give us the document.
Yep.
And I passed along to Neil,
Right.
yesterday or
Yeah.
today. So all that
We got nice
information Neil now has and can kind of blend it in.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will go in the data section, but just
Yeah.
mention in the
'Cause it's
maybe the
really
town thing,
hot
because
off
we
the
talk
press.
about the number of country clubs. Like I feel like we should mention the number of schools, right? Because
That's really
people
that's
really
true.
move here for the
Yeah.
schools and
That's
not
right,
like
that's
the
right.
country clubs.
And that's absolutely right. I think right now it's just in the next section at the end, but more in terms of, I think that could be, I think that needs to be shifted, or at least some part of that, along with the data you're talking about
Right.
to this part. So thanks, yeah, I like that. Good session. That definitely rounds out the discussion. It makes much more sense because it is, since the schools is one of the number one reasons that why folks move to Darien. That,
Yeah, and if you look at the
it should be
people,
part of
it's
the
90%, you know,
people,
like, most people here have
yeah.
children. And you
Yeah.
talk about the people of Darien, it's usually people with
Right.
kids,
So,
or grad kids,
Well,
or have
Still,
children.
oh yeah,
But-
still,
Not that they pass, it's just that, you know,
no,
living
right.
with you.
Just not
going
in
to
school anymore, thank God.
So
But yeah,
the next subsection is just running down, you know, the government, form of government for Darien. Kind of just, remember, just set up, this is how Darien is structured in terms of its government. And I think, well, the boards and commissions and committees is certainly, you know, we spoke with so many of them. I think it's really important to of course, call that out as along with the other formal bodies. Any issues or any questions about spending, you know, a page on this? Is it helpful?
Well,
Should it-
my first comment would be on your description of the Board of Finance. I think you're kind of understating its role, but that, not that you should necessarily know, but I think it should also reflect somehow that they manage the finances of the town through transfers of funds, through management of the general fund, through approving, well, going right down to, you know, approving all kinds of projects. Without their approval, they don't happen either, so.
Neil, I'll get you some wording on that.
All right, thanks.
bonding, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely that.
I wasn't, this is maybe for staff, I don't, should the Board of Selectmen be first and then the RTM below it?
You know, it's
They're
interesting.
like, because I get it, one's legislative and one's executive, right? So
Yeah.
they're co-equal, but I feel like the Board of Selectmen, should probably come first.
Yep, we can do that.
And yet the first statement says Darien has a representative town
Temple.
meeting form
Yeah, I
of
guess
government, which I hadn't really thought of, but I guess that's what we are, right?
Yeah, or you
Yeah.
put up legislative government.
Yeah, it's interesting because
Yeah.
small New England towns have town meeting where everybody in the town is invited to show up and
Right,
everyone sits
Yeah.
in the gymnasium or auditorium.
yeah.
So
They're
here
yelling
it's,
at each other.
because there's 100 instead of 20,000.
Yeah, I don't think
But
I
I,
can.
but I do think it's important that, and the mention of the institution and organizations, because as a realtor selling multiple towns, one of the things that makes Darien different is the RTM, is the way
The
we're
library.
structured, and is very much about the institutions and organizations that, the public-private partnership that is so strong in this community.
The volunteer
that is-
participation.
It is
Yeah.
such a differentiator
Yes.
for Darien's community than most others. And so I do like the fact that there's a page about the institution and organizations, because it's hard to articulate in words, but it is
I
very
think
much a factor.
Both you and Jamie hit a
Yeah.
strong volunteer ethic,
Yeah.
public-private partnerships, which
Yeah.
we see through many, there's
Many.
hundreds of examples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are just a
Darien Foundation
handful.
would be
Yeah, I was
one.
gonna say, a number of foundations
This is
that
just a
provide
handful.
grants all over the
PTOs,
place,
all those
community
things.
fund.
Yeah.
We'll work that in, Neil.
Yeah, because
Sure.
I think
Those thoughts are
so
great
much
thoughts.
of it is also just the generosity of the public-private partnerships that, and the dovetailing of raising funds to build a library that gets turned over to that's a real thing for our
Uh-huh.
community that's very different than other places.
Right, well, Post 53, the
Yeah.
volunteer fire departments,
Yeah.
towns don't have that.
Right.
TV 79, Darien TV,
Yeah,
perfect
exactly.
example.
So this section, when I was rereading this, I wasn't. I'd like to shift this around. I don't want to talk specifically about the POCD per se, but I want to do also more of what you're saying. Like, you know, I want to. I mean, granted, you know, I don't know. We maybe there's a way we can list all the different organizations, but at least
No, you
provide a paragraph.
You
of
don't need
some
to
key
list,
ones.
it'll be a 40,000
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
You
But
could just
I-
say, you know, you could work with them to
Yeah.
figure out something, you know, a number of community or volunteer organizations,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
All right, so why don't we,
Also, the Darien Public Schools has a preschool program as well,
yep,
Oh, okay, we should,
an early learning program.
it's ELP, is that
Yep.
mostly in Oxbridge now?
I think they did move it completely, right? to
Yeah.
Mansfield.
Completely in Oxbridge. Okay.
Yeah, I think they built around that.
You might also want to just mention the faith organizations in town. Like
Yeah.
we have a strong, let's say, church-going community here, and the churches do provide a lot of services. St. Luke's has daycare, right? In addition to the
Daycare, preschools.
food pantry that they have at St. Luke's too, person to person. Like, so those are important organizations that a lot of people are involved in as well.
Well,
Civic
maybe
involvement.
ought to touch on youth organizations, athletic organizations.
Depot. Our dominant women's lacrosse team.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, you're right, so this will end up being 10 pages, but just kidding. But no,
Not a
I see,
football team that
I
can't beat
certainly
the Keenans or
understand your point, and, you know, the spirit of just, you know, the volunteerism, public partnerships, and, you know, I'm familiar with, at least, you know, many of these organizations. I've spoken with them, at schools, and I think that the faith community as well, I'll try to find a way to kind of.
One specific nit I had was, you have a sentence here that says a new Fitch Academy was also recently created. I don't think that sentence will make sense to many people.
And it wasn't really recently created either, so.
No, it's existed for a while, so
That's huge.
if you want to highlight Fitch, you can do that as a, I don't know what you call it, a standalone post-18.
I would say, however, the Darien Public Schools has it on
Yeah.
their site just to make sure, you
Oh,
know.
okay.
Consistency.
Yeah.
And
Okay, we'll do-
what is the Fish Academy's role, or what is it? What's
It's
it?
for post-senior year students who are entitled to continuing education.
No, it's actually not, it's
No.
it's
It's-
it's general education for the high school. So it's not
It's not
high school.
post-18,
What we'll do is
but it
we'll
goes 18 to
look it up
21.
and see what they say.
Everything about the
Yeah.
transition, the special education transition program, that is specialized instruction. This is Fitch is a general education.
Oh, okay. Well, listen to Jamie here.
She knows better.
A little more current than I am.
Well, we're running out of
My
time,
kids are
so
so
let's move it along.
Good. I'm
All right, so why don't
15
you,
years out.
That's the first two. Yeah, first
yeah,
two chapters.
put some of those edits, get
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
back, work with them, we'll review it, and then I think like once we're just at a process, right? We just saw 1 and 2.
Yeah.
We gave Neil some comments. He's going to do some redrafting, some rewording. We don't need to go over 1 and 2 anymore. That can now be handled. Hey guys, this is what the redraft over email collaboratively.
Yep.
So the next time, I don't want to just right because we'll never get
Right,
today.
exactly. If we talk about
next
the
week
changes.
we redo the changes for 1 and 2, and then we start 3, 4, 5, 6,
Right.
and then we redo the changes for 1 and 2, and then the changes for 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
On the night we get to chapter 7, we're going to be here for by the time we get to the end of April, we're going to be here for 2 or 3 nights.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, I've seen a lot of towns get bogged down. Chapter 1 and 2, 10 edits.
yeah.
I'm like, no. So I think that's a good way to do it. Neil will come back, edits will be online,
Yeah.
and then you'll see the first,
We might tack on further edits, and we could circulate that via email, and we could work that way.
Yeah.
This is 2025.
so.
Then I better take my last shot or one more last
There
comment.
you go. This is it. Last word, George.
Okay, here we
We're moving
go.
on to Craig.
All right, you make a comment here about the schools, commenting that all the schools are located in residential neighborhoods north of the railroad tracks, with the exception of listing Henley, Tocatink, and Fitch. I don't think that's a Darien thought.
Interesting.
It doesn't matter that they're
Mhm.
north or south of the railroad tracks.
Mhm.
I think you just say there are 5 neighborhood
Schools,
elementary
yeah.
schools, and,
I think that's the key takeaway, is Darien's been very focused on neighborhood schools
yeah,
that make
yeah.
things more walkable, easy to get to, bikeable, whatever.
good.
And that's been the long time, spread them out throughout.
Yeah.
Some towns put them all in one central location. Darien has made a conscious effort for years to.
Plus, I think there's obviously the negative connotation when you say one thing
Right,
on
one side of the
of,
tracks.
of a railroad
Yeah.
tracks. We don't mean that here
Right.
because it's equal, but that has somebody who doesn't know, and just some from Minnesota who wants to read this and
We mean
poo-poo all
95.
over Darien, on some blog, is going to read it like that.
Yeah,
So, yeah, so we'll take that sentence out.
or work with it as you were suggesting on the neighborhood piece.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Neil.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Look forward to seeing you
Yeah.
in the new year.
I've seen a lot of you next.
Yeah, all right.
Right? Yeah, so have a lovely holiday. Happy New Year. And we'll catch up with you the first week in January.
First week.
February, or January 6th, correct?
That's
Will be the
correct.
next time we see
I think
Mr.
that's what it is.
Desai here. Excellent. Awesome. We'll get home safe.
Thanks.
Have a good rest of your month. Good luck with the snow and the polar vortex. Coming down. Not tonight. The vortex is in 2 weeks.
Oh.
Yep. Coldest it's ever going to be in New England, historically. Yeah, it's going to be like 20 degrees below the immediate temperature the third week, right around Christmas. Get excited. All right, moving along of our special meeting with a little weather update from the vice chairman here. Preliminary conservation subdivision application, the Episcopal Church in Connecticut, the Commons, 41 Mansfield Avenue. This is a discussion pursuant to section 843 of the Darien zoning regulations regarding subdividing the property into 4 residential lots. The 14.4 plus or minus acre property is shown on Assessor's Map 2 as lot 35 in the R2 zone. Gentlemen, what do we got here?
Sure.
We got
This is something the commission doesn't see too often. We saw it much more many, many years ago. Section 840 of the regulations, which is entitled Preservation of Significant Natural, Special, and/or Man-Made Features and Related Open Space Areas in the Subdivision or Re-Subdivision of Land. It's a long header of, in other words, right now we have subdivision regulations, which tells you how you can divide up property to meet the certain zoning regulations. We have this provision in the regulations, been in here a long time, saying if you have some natural features that you want to find a way to preserve, there's a little flexibility in this built into the subdivision regulations for the Planning and Zoning Commission to reduce certain requirements up to a certain level to accommodate the subdivision of land for these properties. What the first step is for the applicant to show how many lots they could get under a traditional subdivision. In other words, going through the wetlands or going over the brook or regrading a whole swath of land, showing how that might be possible, to show that this is how many lots generally fits, and then showing a conservation subdivision that preserves some of the natural features. The procedure is come to the commission informally. First you go to staff and get a letter, which you saw in your packet. Come to the commission informally, discuss some of the constraints of the land, and then put together a formal application if you get feedback from the commission. So Craig Flaherty's come to us about the St. Paul's property in the northern part of town. There have been, one question that came up, Craig and I were discussing, the most recent conservation subdivisions, Craig and I discussed it. I made a very nice list of about 6 or 7 of them, which I've left in my office, but I did remember that the Phillips Lane had one, Goodwives Road, Henderson Fritz, right when you come around the curve. Do you remember the other 3 or 4?
I don't. I only worked on one of them. So.
But there are a handful in town, and when you look at the subdivision layout, you're like, oh, they were able to preserve the pond. They were able to create more of a streetscape along the road. Whatever it was, each one had a distinctive finding. Hey, we have this natural feature that we'd like to preserve. We're not going to get more lots out of this, but we'll get a better, more flexible design. So Craig's here to talk about this specific property, get your input and feedback, and see where it takes us.
great. All right, Craig.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Craig Flaherty, Senior Engineer and Principal with Redness and Mead, a land use consulting company with offices in Stamford and Wilton. We're here representing the Episcopal Church in Connecticut, and technically the property owner controlled by the Episcopal Church in Connecticut is Missionary Society, Inc., to talk about what you see outlined in blue, which is 471 Mansfield Avenue, which we know as St. Paul's Episcopal Church. Section 840 has a very specific kind of 3-step process that we need to go through. So the first step was actually me to introduce the concept to Jeremy and have the town planner review it and opine as to whether or not he felt it was eligible for consideration under this section of the regulations. Jeremy so opined, and we have a letter in the record indicating that. The second step is we're here for tonight, which is a preliminary application, informal discussion with you to kind of get to the same conclusion. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's eligible for consideration under that section? If so, please approve us to go to final. And then we would be back before you some point early next year with a final subdivision application, kind of with a little more of the detail that you're used to seeing in kind of a conventional subdivision application. But before I get too much further into the details, I wanted to introduce John Heflin with the Episcopal Church. He's the property manager with the church. He has just kind of introductory statement from Rosanna Rosado, one of the canons of the church, kind of seeing up the disposition of their properties. Just kind of give you an idea where they're at with this particular parish and why they're now considering sale of the property.
Good evening, everyone. I'd just like to read you something from the diocese.
Could you just state your name for the record, just for our stenographer?
My name is Jonathan Heflin. I work for the Episcopal Diocese in Connecticut. I'm the diocese property manager for the entire state.
Welcome.
Thank you. The Episcopal Diocese in America was founded in Connecticut in 1783. The core identity of the Episcopal Church in Connecticut is rooted in our mission to serve our communities. We have learned to adapt to changing times, to stay relevant, overcome challenges, and even turn them into opportunities for growth, as in this case. In repurposing this property, we choose to invest in active ministry and community outreach rather than the ongoing, burdensome costs of maintaining an underused facility. This demonstrates prudent management of our assets, ensuring that they have a greater impact on the broader community. The proceeds of the sale will be strategically invested in areas with increasing needs, allowing us to expand our reach, enhance programs, and offer more service-oriented opportunities in Fairfield County and across the state. We are grateful to the community we cultivated and shared in Darien, dating back to our first meetings at Tree Hollow School in 1958. As we consider options for the future of the property, it was important to us, the diocese, to select a path that honored our shared time here and fit in within the neighborhood in which the property is located. With Craig's help, we believe we found the path in the proposed conservation subdivision that he will describe to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
So details. Here we are, kind of the north end of Darien. Mansfield Avenue is on the right of the property. It's just a little bit north of Tower Drive. You can see in the aerial the main entrance to the church, the loop drive and parking associated with the church building. There are 2 existing residences on the property. And in total, it is 14.4 acres in the 2-acre zone. So easy math is 14 divided by 2 equals 7. That never really fits quite right when you're putting the puzzle pieces together. But you also see on the property this kind of little black line that goes down the middle. That's the Stony Brook. Now it's not the Stony Brook that's outside our door here. This is much higher in the watershed. The watershed starts just at Waveney. So in this area, it's maybe 6 or 8 feet wide. It's much less substantial. In fact, there's no regulatory floodplain associated with the brook up at this level. So there's just not that much water in it at this point. And then you'll see the areas of the property that have been kind of maintained as woodland ever since they have been operating on the site since 1962, roughly. So as we talked about, they're proposing to prepare the property for sale, and they've been very thoughtful about that as the seller. I think we've been working on it for a year and a half or so at this point with land survey, looking into first septic for the property and then proposing a sewer extension, because right now the public sewers end at Tower Drive and they will be extended to serve this property. I should say at this moment, although I am the chairman of the sewer commission, I am not here in any official capacity on behalf of the town tonight. I am here as a private consultant working for the applicant, and when this came before us, I of course recused myself and was not involved in the presentation. But my colleague was successful in getting the Sewer Commission's approval to extend the low-pressure sewer system from Tower Drive up to this site to ultimately serve the potential lots that we'll be talking about. So again, they've been very thoughtful as the seller to kind of set this up in a way so that they know what's going to happen with it when they do go to sell it, instead of just kind of selling the property wholesale to whoever might want to pay the most money. And so ultimately the proposal is to make 4 lots with it, and those lots are, as you see here, this is now oriented with Mansfield Avenue at the bottom and north to the right. And you can see the orientation of the proposed 4 lots. Now each of these lots is over the minimum area of the zone. These would all be 2.5 acre lots. And you can see how they relate to the size of the lots, in particular across the street, immediately mirroring the property. And each would have its own individual driveway, so there's no kind of common road or common improvements
Is that
required.
what the dash lines are for reference of the
Setbacks.
properties? Those are the setbacks.
Zoning setbacks, yeah, these are
Gotcha.
zoning setbacks. We kind of looked at that to make sure we had, you know, a reasonable development envelope on each lot. These lots end up being 140 feet wide. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail. So it's a conservation subdivision. We're asking for that in order to get basically 2 alternate standards in lot development. Normally in the 2 acre zone, you're required to have a 200-foot lot width. And these lots are these first 3 lots are 140 feet wide, not 200 feet wide. A little shy of what the 1 acre zone standard is at 150 feet wide. The second is, because now these lots are a little bit thinner for the zone, is bringing the side yard setback down from the 2 acre standard to the 1 acre standard. So the side yard setback, instead of 35 feet in the 2 acre zone, would be 25 feet in this proposed conservation subdivision. In order for us to be eligible for the conservation subdivision, we have to prove that we could get a similar number of lots under a conventional arrangement, so that we're not creating more intensity on the lot by getting the alternate standards. And so we've provided a conventional subdivision proposal, these lots all being 200 feet wide, all having the required 35-foot setback. What happens because of the frontage and the developable area is it pushes one of these lots to the rear of the site, across the river, and in an upland that is fully wooded. Lots like this in Darien are very valuable, but we would like to remove the incentive to do this. And so we're requesting these alternate standards so that we can keep all of the development on the Mansfield Avenue side of the site, basically where there is already development today. This is a conventional subdivision. As part of a conventional subdivision, you only need to set aside 10% as open space. That's 10% of the 14.4 acre property. So the rest can just be within lot area. When we move over to the conservation subdivision, quick way to say the header of section 840, we are putting more than half the property into some form of restriction. So right off the bat, the fee simple open space goes from 10% to 30%, so triple the amount that you would otherwise get under a conventional subdivision. But then we're also proposing a deed restricted area on the west side of the lots. Ultimately, we're here saying, we want you to approve this conservation subdivision so we don't have to go across the river and do development. So we're kind of putting our money where our mouth is in creating this deed restriction. So if we get the conservation subdivision, we will not establish a permanent vehicular crossing of the river. We will not create enclosed accessory or principal space on the opposite side of the river. It's not going to be a full conservation easement. We want the owners of the lots to feel like it is a part of their property, so that maybe they want a pedestrian bridge or a tree house, or to have the kids play there, you know, or to take down hazardous trees, right? We don't want to kind of create that wall of, oh, that's land I can't touch, so I'm not going to think about it and I'm not going to take care of it. But you know, again, we're putting our money where our mouth is. We want to keep this the way it is
Do
in
you
general.
propose that the deed restriction restricts what kind of trees they can take down? Or no?
We could add that, yeah.
Just curious.
It's not, you know, so this is very preliminary, but that's a great question that we can kind of address in more detail if we get permission to go final. But I would say, yeah, it would be very easy to say, you know, trees that are a hazard, trees that are invasive,
Yeah.
trees that might be diseased, you know, but that if
Because
it's a
it will
healthy.
fly in the face if somebody clear cuts it and then puts a sport court. You know,
Yeah,
that
no,
kind
like,
of thing.
I agree. We would
Yeah.
want healthy, mature trees to
Stay there.
To
You don't
stay
want,
there.
you don't want, let's say, that Ned Lamont
Yes.
situation.
We do not want that. Absolutely. So yeah, we're happy to do that. We, you know, we don't want to, you know, it's an interesting thing because I think when you set these lines, you know, people do the stay out of it thing, but the reality of our environments today is that they are so fragmented and so impacted by human activity and impacted by climate change that they do kind of require a little more active management and care. So we kind of want people to care about these spaces. The other part of this is that each of the lot owners would have the ability to traverse it to get to the open spaces.
So would you create like an easement path in the back to get to the open space?
Yeah, you know,
Along the property?
it's a question whether or not we want to define something. So, you know, I'll write that down again as a good question, define
To
route.
sell these lots, it would behoove you to make it clear.
Yeah, where they can walk and how.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking, we spent a lot of
It'll be to
time,
your benefit when you try to sell these lots, if it's clear.
Yeah.
That
I
that's a
mean-
benefit for these lots to get to that open space.
Remember
It's
In
a
the-
legal right.
with the dock over on,
Yep.
like,
Pear
that
Tree Point Road.
Pear Tree, just where the easement line went down for parking and all, you
Yeah.
know? Like, I'm not saying that it's the same here, but when it's defined,
It makes it
it's
easier.
a lot easier
It's
to
easier
say,
to sell it, there's no questions.
Yeah.
Here's where it is.
here's where you can walk on, here's where they can't, who can use it, who can't.
I don't want to complicate this process or even the final process. And, you know, the proposal before you, both in phase
Yeah,
two and
just
phase
food for
three.
thought.
Yeah, will be, you know, these open spaces will be, you know, the south open space and the north open space would for now be held in ownership by an association that would manage the care of those open spaces. You know, I kind of have this little long-term dream that's kind of interesting. That lot is owned by the Darien Land Trust. That lot is owned by the Darien Land Trust. And that lot is owned privately by the homeowner here. So, and this is where our south open space would be. So there's something there for the future. And we, of
Yeah.
course, would have those conversations at the right time, but that's not for the approval process.
BMX trail back there.
So,
No.
let's go through my notes. Yeah, I've been specific about the restrictions. I've been specific about the alternate standards that we're looking for. You know, there are standards for review in section 841 and section 842 that we've gone through in narrative form here. We believe that this is a good candidate. I don't want to speak for him, but I think Jeremy actually said poster child earlier today when I was
Yeah.
talking to him.
It's such an unusual fact pattern, because you have this upper level and then a lower level once you get, because when you go up that driveway, you're going down the hill, and then there's even more downhill.
Yeah.
So keep everything at the upper level,
Yeah.
one side of the brook, you're like, oh my gosh.
And this is one of those, you know, when I get to work on redevelopment sites, like, the other thing is, you know, there's no stormwater management out here today. There are septic systems out here today. You know, we get to redo all of that with the proposed lots to the, you know, September stormwater manual standards, and now we have a sewer connection. So if we can keep all of the development within that footprint, this is actually going to be a significant improvement.
And just as an
Yeah.
aside, the neighbors across the way, will they have ability to hook up to sewers if needed?
Oh, yeah, that's a very good point. The answer is yes. Part of the requirement of extending the low-pressure force main to this point
Yep.
is that it is sized for all of these lots. And there will actually be hookups taken to the curb line
Great.
in front of all of those lots.
Great.
So they'll have the option of connecting.
And low pressure means it doesn't need a pump, or?
It does need a pump.
Okay.
Yeah, low pressure, so there'll be an individual pump on each lot
Oh,
that feeds into the pressurized system. I think the other thing, there's a couple of things, findings. One was the idea that we could do a conventional lot. The other is that the alternate standards approved aren't going to kind of change the visual character of the neighborhood. So I think that's important when you look at these lots across the street. It just so happens that, you know, basically all of these lots are non-conforming with the zone. These three are 90 feet wide, this one's 100 feet wide, these are all about an acre in size. This one is compliant, this one is not as to width. So, you know, we don't think the arrangement of these four are going to change kind of how Mansfield Avenue feels relative to the neighborhood that's in it because of that.
How did that happen? Just out of curiosity.
Time.
Yeah, these houses have been there before.
Before we
The main
adopted
zoning
it?
in this area changed in the mid-1950s, so a lot of these houses predate that.
Gotcha. Okay. Just curious. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw this. I was like, how come these guys are all smaller?
Well, there's lots like that all over town.
I saw that.
This one?
The smalls.
And they're all on septic.
And they're all on septic. Yeah, that involves the sewer. I think this one's on sewer. That's the last
That's the
one.
last one.
That's the last one.
Okay.
And these are all on septic, and they're narrow lots, so it's actually a good thing to bring sewers, especially to those.
what of water, Craig?
It's served by public water,
Okay.
existing and proposed.
Anything?
Not at this one?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we have to present to you. And again, the action that we're looking is tell us we're not crazy, that we thought it was a good idea and you do too, and we'll be back to you with a formal application if you so approve us to do so.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts I've already said, and
Yeah.
I think makes sense.
yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's always good when we can preserve open space like this instead of just overdeveloping it. I mean, I could look at your potential subdivision and see ways around subdividing that subdivision in the future. You know, if you've
Yeah.
got time and money, you can probably make anything happen. So I think this is a really good idea. I think I'm for it. George, anything?
I'm grateful to the Episcopal Church for being this sensitive on that property.
Yeah.
That could have gone a whole
It's very
different
well
way.
planned. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Okay, so
Great.
that's it. I mean, we've got the memo from Jeremy too inside of this, which you know, I think says everything we need. So we look forward to seeing an application on this in the near future.
Thank you very much. Do you think, Jeremy, do they require kind of a formal vote with a resolution, or do you think
I don't
that?
think so. I think
Yeah.
you've gotten the feedback. It doesn't say anything about,
Yeah, it just
Take a
says
straw
that the
poll.
language
Take a
is,
straw
yeah,
poll. It says-
all reviews of, let's see.
subsequent to receiving any commission approval of the
That's-
preliminary subdivision,
Yeah.
the applicant shall prepare.
So commission approval of the preliminary sub.
I'll stick straw poll everybody in approval. So
Four
for
zero.
nothing.
Okay,
Thank
There
you.
go.
thank you very much.
All
Have a great
right.
night.
Have a happy holiday
You too.
and a happy new year.
Yeah, it's coming.
Okay, moving along. Deliberations and possible decisions on the following. Proposed amendment to Darien zoning regulation COZR 4-2025. Proposed amendment of the zoning map COZM 2-2025, also known as PL 25-145. Oh,
Did you get my email on that today?
Steve's
No.
not.
So we'll have to kick that
we'll kick that one
Tooth
then.
Road till
that's right.
January.
And the next one too.
Yeah.
Pride Island?
No.
There's
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
Two, yeah.
There's the zoning change and then there's the approval. You're out.
You didn't get an email?
All right. I will not read the next one in because, or should I read it in since it's on the agenda?
Who's gonna-
Okay, we'll skip it. The following on 76 Tokenique Road will also be punted to the next meeting. We will not deliberate on that. The last one, coastal site plan review number 390, flood damage prevention application 458, land filling and regrading application 597, also known as PL 25167, Pratt Properties LLC at 3 Pratt Island, proposal to raise the existing residence and detached garage on the property, and to construct new single-family dwelling, pool, patio areas, new driveway, perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including regrading of the property and installation of the stormwater management. The hearing was closed on November 18th in 2025. In our packets tonight, we have a draft resolution for this application, 3 Pratt, as it opens up here. I didn't notice any Scribner's errors or notes that would need to be amended in this, but I'll run it down the line for the commission members. Did anybody see anything that was weird about this application that they wanted to change, mention, not see in there? It was a pretty straightforward application. It's not a real big, a big approval with a lot of exceptions and stipulations and yada yada. Joe
Yep.
Canis signed off on it. Deep was here.
Yep. I just reviewing my notes. I think everything for my notes match up. I'm good.
George?
Nothing.
Jamie? Okay. Does anybody have, I'll entertain a motion to approve the draft resolution. Makes a motion. Do I have a second? Jamie makes a second. All those in favor? 4-0. All right. Pratt Properties, you got your approval. Good luck building that. Next up, the approval of minutes, November 18th, 2025. We've got the minutes in here. Did anybody see anything that was in it? The only thing I would note is, Amy, did you watch this one?
I did
I
watch.
believe you said you
I watched
did.
the whole Vimeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just so you can vote on it, because you were not in attendance. But yeah, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. We can read it on our own time. I didn't find any errors or issues with it. I thought it was pretty straightforward meeting, let's be honest. And I thought they captured it pretty well. So anybody have any changes they'd like to amend, update? George?
No.
Nope. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as drafted. Amy makes a motion. George makes a second. All those in favor? 4-0. Minutes are approved. And we are moving along. Chairman's report. I have no report except to just make a note that if anybody wants to attend, the State of the Town address is next Monday, 7 o'clock, downstairs, Town Hall. It'll be an exciting one. No, it won't.
Sure, it will also be covered by TV 79.
I'm sure Darien TV will cover it as well if you don't want to hoof over
Right,
to
it's on
the
79.
to sit in the thing. But other than that, I've got nothing to mention. Jeremy, do you have anything for
No,
the?
I was going to mention the same thing, State of the Town address, less than a week away.
Perfect. All right, and then so that concludes our next meetings are Jan 6th and 20th of next year, right?
More than a month off.
More than a month off, and I assume in the meantime we'll get probably some updated POCD.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'll keep that moving in the background. As I explained to Neil, I said, our quiet time is December, so whatever he can get to me and Fred will actually move along quicker in December than it will in, as you
January.
acknowledge, in March, April, or May.
Yep.
So I'll remind him.
What's January looking like? January 6th?
Not
anything
too
big?
bad. With January 6th is the continuations for Heights Corner and 805 Post Road, which is our proposed convenience store gas station.
Yep.
That'll be most of the 6th. So far, we only have one application in for January.
Yeah, pretty light.
Deadline's not for a week or two, but so far, so good.
I just assume that the police or the RTA will meet again with
They're meeting
everybody?
Thursday, right?
LTA.
The police-
LTA?
I don't know when. We just got the fire marshal comments today. I think they've been uploaded or will be uploaded tomorrow, and that they're aware of continuing to work on
Issues.
modifying plans, meeting with groups,
Okay.
keeping things moving along.
Yeah, I think that was just the big thing is that, clearly there's a disconnect. So those guys got to circle all those squares and then come back to us because if the LTA is not signing off on it, I don't know if it's going to make it through P&Z.
So
Yeah.
we'll continue to work with the applicants on that one.
Okay, great. Well, then this is a special meeting, so we can't do anything else. I'll just say happy holidays, everyone. Everybody have a great new year.
Right back at you.
We'll see you guys next year. So I will make a I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Anybody make, Amy? Do I have a second?
They're just sleeping over there.
Jamie makes a
Like,
second.
yeah.
All those in favor?
Just like to raise.
We are done at 8:24
No
PM.
doubt someone will make the